are live on YouTube and I am letting everybody in now.
Okay.
All right, people are going to start coming in now.
Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Ooh, I'm watching your names as you come in. Hello. Hi, Bailey. Hi, Dan. Hi, Dave. Frank. Maureen Maynard. Hi. Rachel. Rodika. Hi. Leslie Berger. Hello. Judy Jager. Hello. I'm just randomly scrolling through the list here and saying hi to people. Hope you don't mind. Hi, Chris Sullivan and Casey. Nice to see if only your names. Hey, Bailey. Oh, the chief's here. Hey, Chief. Professor Farabach, hello. Okay. Already 100 attendees, amazing. With 11 minutes to go, so everybody feel free to chill for a few minutes and we'll get going at the top of the hour. I see Wally Towner, hello. All right, I better give up on this, saying hi to everyone or we'll never get through the stuff on in the town hall deck. Just my screen. Should have thought to bring my loom back in. I moved it to a different room. I could have been here weaving while we get started, till before we get started. Hope everybody's hanging in and doing well. We are 9 minutes from getting started, so stay tuned. I see Ryan Meadows there. Ryan, thank you for all the things you're doing with our mask stitching group and coordinating that. That's fantastic. Okay. About 6 minutes to go till we get started. I know it's weird just to be staring at me. Hopefully you're not. Hopefully you're doing other things. Hello, Jennifer's, a bunch of Jennifers, Jennifer Rudolph, Jennifer Daigle, Janine Doodle. Dude, how are you? Nice to see you. Over 200 attendees here. Wow, amazing. And 5 minutes to go. So I'm sure we're gonna have a lot more. Lots of Lynn's, all the Lynn's are here. Should see how many Chris's with a K we have. It seems that everyone in WPI is a Chris with a K. I kind of feel like a Peloton instructor giving people a shout out during the ride. Who's at the top of the leaderboard? We'll get started in a few minutes, folks. Welcome to everybody. Shout out to the YouTubers. I hear we have about 25 of you already on the YouTube stream. Hey to you as well. Wow, almost over 300 people on the Zoom. Amazing. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Bill Battelle. I appreciate it. We are doing fine. Probably like a lot of you, I have aging parents, different places. My mom's in an assisted living facility and it's been particularly difficult and scary, but the head of their facility just sent me an adorable picture of her holding a little baby chick that they had brought in today for the residents to give them some fun and enrichment. And so that makes me really happy to see a picture of my mom smiling through all this. I know a lot of us with parents in similar positions, it's a really tough thing. And hope you're doing well too, Bill. Thank you. Okay, 1 minute to 3, 1 minute to 3. We'll probably honestly give people 1 extra minute to get zoomed in. Although we should all be big experts in Zoom by now, eh? Gosh. I don't think I put this this stat in the slide deck, but in the first 3 days of D term, we had 1.1 million Zoom minutes and over 2,600 different Zoom calls. Amazing. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. Here we have more than 50 people on YouTube and almost 400 people on Zoom. It's great. It's so nice to see you all. I see your names in the participant list, so I can see who's here. It's wonderful to have you. Let's give people maybe 1 more minute, and then we'll get started. Hope everybody was able to get outside some these past couple of days that were so nice. I ate my lunch outside both days. It was great. Okay, it is 3:01. Let's go ahead and get started. We have well over 400, almost 425 people on Zoom and 50 people on YouTube at least. So welcome everyone. It is great to see at least your names. I'm sorry we can't all see each other, but it's great to be with you. So this town hall is going to work very similar to the last one that we did, which is sort of here on this first slide, how this town hall will work. So we'll be able to go for about an hour today, and I'm going to talk for probably 30 minutes. I'll try and do a little less than that, but we'll see how it goes, just to give you a lot of updates about what's happening, to share some new information with you, which we will follow up on in writing, and then most importantly, to respond to your questions. So you can ask questions through the Q&A box. My trusty sidekick, Kyle Siegel, is watching that, and we will have her speak up with your questions after I get through the presentation portion. So please do feel free to type in questions, and also you can upvote questions. If someone else typed a question that's a question that you have, then you can give that question a thumbs up, and that way we know which are the popular questions. And we'll also be recording this, so if you have colleagues that aren't able to be here, definitely feel free to let them know, and we'll share the link with everybody. So that's the basic plan, and let's get started. We are up to almost 500 folks on Zoom. Amazing. I am hearing somebody who may not be muted, but not talking but clicking, but hopefully we can just work right through that, and hopefully you can all hear me okay. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the presentation portion of this. Again, really happy to be able to share updates with you directly through this town hall format. I hope it's useful. Most important to me is giving you the latest information that we have, and then also answering your questions. So again, you can type those questions in the Q&A box at any time during this presentation, and we'll come back and answer those. So as we start, I'll start in the same way that I started our last town hall, by sharing with you what I call our North Star. This is a time when all of us are having to adjust to a new reality, and we're doing the best that we can there, but kind of having that grounding, having that North Star, having that thing that we're aiming for is really important as we all have to make decisions in our lives and in our work about that. And so here's my WPI North Star. So again, first and foremost, from the very beginning here, it's been about keeping this whole community safe and healthy, and many of the early decisions we had to make about remote learning, about the campus, the status of the physical campus, we're really keeping that in mind. And I'm pleased to say that has gone well, and that we've done a good job. We are not aware of outbreaks in our campus community, so that's all exciting, and we'll get to more of that in a bit. Serving our students in this moment, these are really unprecedented circumstances for all of them. The last time we were all together 2 weeks ago was the afternoon before D term started, and I think there was a lot of anxiousness about making sure that we were able to serve our students in the way that we expect of ourselves and that they expect of us. And again, I'm happy to say that that's going well. Supporting our faculty who are on the front lines of serving our students and trying to deliver on both our educational and research missions in really unprecedented circumstances. So incredible faculty and all of you who support them. Thank you so much for that. Keeping our WPI family together, that's a theme we'll talk about a lot today, because to me, that is the theme that's really top of mind for me right now. And we're trying to take some actions that I'll talk about today that are really designed to help us have the highest probability of being able to really keep our WPI family together. And so I'll share those with you as we walk through this. And then again, we'll send a follow-up note to all of you that outlines exactly what I'm saying today. So don't feel like you have to take a bunch of notes. We're going to send you an email right after this that talks about all this stuff. So keeping our family together, that to me is like the theme of the day here. Treating everybody with care and respect. We know that this is a stressful time for everyone, for our students, for our faculty, for all of us with our families at home. It's a time when we need to give one another, even more so than we usually do, the benefit of the doubt, a little bit of a break. How do we help treat each other with as much care and respect as we can in these moments? That's a part of my North Star as well. And then finally, this is about our WPI family, but it's also about our communities. And you'll see that we're doing some great things in Worcester and beyond to help serve our broader community as well as we can. So before I jump into a bunch of slides with words on them to give you updates, I just thought I would share some scenes from the term so far. We call it D term. I hear that the students are calling it Q term for quarantine. I think that's hilarious. I love our students. That's pretty funny. So it's D term, it's Q term, take your pick. It's the term, and we are 2 weeks into it right now, which is unbelievable. So here's a few folks, a couple of IQP teams, one working on inclusive citizen science with sponsors in Germany, the other working on ecotourism in Romania. I just saw today Bogdan tweeted some great shots of the Romanian, all the Romanian IQP students cooking Romanian dishes at home and having a Zoom shared lunch. Like, that's amazing how we're keeping our students engaged at this moment. Yeah, fantastic. And then our Heard at Home students. So this is Alex, and he's representing I think it's the Ashland, Virginia campus of WPI. Again, all the students who are making their homes into branch campuses is amazing. SGA is hard at work, our Student Government Association, and also our graduate student government, GSG, are both meeting by Zoom, doing business there. You'll see in a minute, one of the things we've done is refund a prorated student life fee to all students. That was SGA who decided that we should do that. They are continuing to do their business and meet. And again, just like you would expect of our students, they are rising to the occasion. We are also rising to the occasion with a shout out to Tanya Domingo here, who sent an email recently that had a lot of these pictures in it. This is our mask team that Chris Boudreau in the upper left there started this a few weeks ago, and I think almost have made and delivered with a group that's all organized on Facebook and such, over 150 masks to different organizations. I think that's a UMass person that she's there with in the upper left. We've been sterilizing these masks and sharing them, and that group is continuing its work. So congratulations to that amazing team for all that they are doing to support our folks. Uh-oh, did I just pop off of the video? I hope not. Okay. Hang on. Also, our 3D printer team is doing incredible work. This is the middle picture is the lab in the Foisey Innovation Studio with a line of 3D printers, and they have printed over 150 different face shields and are getting those delivered to people in need. Absolutely incredible worker. And of course, we're making sure we're doing all this safely with appropriate social distancing. Thank you so much to the Makerspace team. Okay, so if there's one thing that I got a lot of feedback on in our last, from our last town hall, it was about my weaving. So I just went ahead and put a picture of it in here. These are the towels that I'm weaving. They're kitchen towels. This is the color scheme in our kitchen. And I will admit to not making as much progress on them as I would like because I'm working too much, but I am making a little bit of progress. So that's good zen for me, just continuing going. But here's the fun part. I posted this picture on Twitter and asked other folks, what are you making? And the response I got was incredible from this community, our faculty, our staff, our students, even our alumni, some of the things that they are making. So here they are. I didn't attribute them here, but I just made some collages of them. So one, like me, there are many members of our community who are addicted to fiber and fiber arts. And so here are some great projects that our knitters and embroiderers have going. We're makers too. They're making things, whether that's forts or tree houses or some very beautiful flies. I will attribute that one. That's Marty Luttrell's fly there in the middle. That is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm sure he caught something great with it. But the ones that have made my mouth water are all the food that y'all are sending me pictures of. Nobody's sending me actual food, but pictures is working well. Look at these luscious treats. We seem to be heavy on the carbs, which I am all in favor of. Beautiful bagels, sourdough bread, chocolate cupcakes. Of course, Rick Vaz is making jambalaya or something really complicated and beautiful. So thank you for all of this. And it's really gratifying to see how it is that we can stay connected on social media with the things that we're doing at home. And to me, the fact that I get those kind of responses just shows our commitment to one another. It shows our commitment to keep this family and this community together. And so that's what I want to talk about as I give you updates on what's going on the campus. So before I do anything, I just want to expand on a commitment that we had made earlier. Earlier, we had talked about that there were people, especially some of our non-exempt employees, that were really concerned that maybe they couldn't do their work remotely, and were they going to be, furloughed or something. Like so many, like literally 10 million people across the country who've lost their jobs in the last 2 weeks. We made a commitment to everybody through the end of the academic year. I'm happy to say today that we're extending that commitment through at least the end of the fiscal year. So if you have a job with us, you have that job through the end of the fiscal year. Of course, faculty appointments are different than staff appointments, and then there's student workers and all this, and there's a lot of detail that goes into this. But everybody who is expecting to be working in the summer and to be paid for that work, you should expect to keep that commitment going at least through the end of the fiscal year. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about our financial status, about some of the challenges that we're facing. But before I got into the details of this, I just wanted to put this on the table from the get-go. This is not to say that we have any plan for any action after June 30th. This is just to say that for now, everybody's good, everybody's fine. And so I hope that's helpful to folks as they're thinking about, the coming months of getting through this. So before I jump a little bit more into the financial status, I want to just give you a little bit of the campus status, kind of the current overall status of the campus. I don't think most of these things should come as a surprise to you, but just to give you a sense of what's going on. So first, as we already talked about, D-term is underway. Things are going well. We took almost 600 courses and put them online. That's a really incredible feat. The grading policy was been updated for undergraduates. That's the course grading policy. Faculty governance is working on additional updates for grad students and for project grading. So stay tuned on that. There'll be some announcements coming once they work their way through our governance process. But again, thanks to faculty governance for the update to the undergraduate course grading policy. On-campus housing, you know that we have a handful of students who are remaining in on-campus housing. For everybody else, we are in the midst of making plans for move out when it's safe to do so. You'll be hearing more about that, or the students will be hearing more about that in the coming weeks. We have a team working on that, and I'll talk more about that when I talk about the work of the CERT. But as of right now, we have not allowed people to come back and move out their belongings. Refunds. We have issued refunds for room and board, for project fees, and for student life fees. I'll talk about that more when I talk about the finances. We have delayed commencement. We just could not imagine any way that getting 8,000 or 9,000 people together on the quad in a month's time was remotely possible or safe. So we've delayed it, but instead of replacing it with a different plan, what we've done is we've asked the class of 2020, both undergrad and grad, what they think. We've sent them a survey, we've asked for their input, and we're taking that input and we're going to make an updated plan using their input. And again, a team is working on that, and we'll keep you posted. We still only are aware of 3 positive COVID-19 cases in our faculty, staff, student community, and none of those had been on the campus in the 2 weeks prior to their diagnosis. So there was no campus exposure. I'd be shocked if there were not others in our community who have been diagnosed at this point, but this is all we're aware of. We still have that form open that people can go in. You can get there from our coronavirus website to let us know if you're positive. Again, we'd love to, we are not requiring you to let us know, but we'd love to make sure, you know, you and your loved ones are safe and well, and try and keep track of that. So feel free to let us know. So that's kind of it for the current status. So here's what I want to talk about for the rest of the time. So one is kind of what's the future planning that's happening. And it's kind of in 2 parts. One is the CERT, the Coronavirus Emergency Response Team, which is really pretty focused on kind of managing the current crisis situation. And so just to walk you through a little bit of the things that are on their agenda right now. And, you know, I saw Ron Bashista's name on the phone under his great leadership, and Philip Clay and Jeff Solomon are the senior exec champions for the CERT work. So they're focused on things like, you know, are there operational things we need to complete D-term remotely? Planning for summer. So we have made some decisions about summer. That is an ongoing and an unfolding situation. So we have not made decisions yet about status of summer camps and programs, but we have decided that E1 and E2, our summer E-term for our students, will be online. We will not do in-person courses there. We are working on all the details of that to send out to you, so stay tuned on that. But what we're actually working to do is to grow the number of online courses in the summer, and we've made a decision to discount the tuition for all undergraduate students. We've always offered discounts in the summer. This is sort of extending the best discount that we already offered to all undergraduates. And we're working to pump up the number of classes there, because what we're hearing is a lot of our undergrads maybe had a summer internship fall through, and maybe they want to take a course or 2 to try and get ahead in their studies. So if you are a faculty member online who might want to teach in the summer, please feel free to drop Art Heinricher a note and let him know. We'll be working on those, on building out that course schedule. We're already seeing really good registration, by the way, for summer courses. So the CERT has a team that's planning for that reimagined commencement, taking the student input and thinking about what the timing and what the commencement itself will be like. Also working on the plans for that student move out, which is a big logistical thing you can imagine in this moment. And then finally, there's a group who's really trying to think through how the campus will reopen. What will be the triggers for us to say, okay, it's safe for us to drop back from this significantly remote operation status to a more open status. Perhaps we're going to do that in phases. We need to understand what will trigger that and how we'll phase that. It takes a lot of thinking to do that. So there's a group who's off working on that. And again, I thank all the members of the CERT who are really digging in and doing incredible work. So the other piece of future planning has to do with sort of once this initial crisis passes, what are we going to be doing for the future? And that's kind of more in the longer term planning activity. And we're really doing that at the senior team level. obviously, right now, the answer is we don't know what's going to happen. There's still so much uncertainty about how this is going to play out, in the summer and beyond. Even if we're doing summer courses online, it's still possible we could have the campus in some sort of an open state. Again, what was that opening look like? But the real big question is going into the fall term, what are operations going to look like on the campus? And we're thinking about those things, really hopeful that we will be able to be in a fully open state. But there are some real concerns about enrollment in these highly uncertain times. And so what I want to do is talk a little bit about our financial status, our current and future financial status, and a little bit about some things that we think we need to do now in order to best protect our family so that we can stay together for the long haul. So that's kind of the last piece of this today. So here's a slide about our current financial status. At least we know kind of where we are today. So one is, and again, there's a whole lot of detail behind each and every one of these things that I'm not going to give you, but I'm happy to answer specific questions if you have them. Cash flow is stable. What that means is, WPI is a bank account. Money comes in mostly through student tuition and room and board. And we use that to pay all of us and to operate the institution. We spend about, I think, $21 million a month to operate WPI. We have enough money in that bank account because students pay tuition twice a year and the tuition had already been paid. So that's great. We have money in our accounts to keep the university running for some time. Of course, as summer comes and we need to collect tuition for next year, that's where things get a little more challenging potentially, but hopefully not. Again, hopefully if we can start to see the future as we get into the summer, we'll be okay. But just want everybody to know that we have money in our bank account and we are fine there. But we did refund, as you would expect, D-term room and board, project fees, and student life fees. And it was about $7 million that we refunded to students over the past few weeks. So that's revenue that we thought we had this year, that we actually had it, and we had to give it back. And it was totally appropriate for us to do that, but that's $7 million. Philanthropy is also a source of revenue for us in any given year. We get annual fund and other kind of donations that come in. We also take a draw from the endowment each year. We're seeing that suffering already, and and because this is not only a public health crisis, but an economic crisis. So we know we're going to have a negative impact to our current year. And we also know that we're going to need to delay. We recall we're in what we call the quiet phase or the leadership phase of a campaign. And we raised $60 million last year. That's amazing in commitments. We're not going to make that goal that we had for this year on that because, again, of this slowdown. And we think it's really wise in this economically uncertain moment not to launch a public campaign in the fall. So we'll probably delay that probably a year. We'll keep revisiting that, but that seems likely. Our endowment, which is really the thing that gives us confidence over the long haul that WPI will absolutely come through this. But the markets are down, and the markets are down a lot more than 15%. But the endowment is down about 15% from the beginning of 2020. So from December 31st to now, we're down from about 530 million to 450 million or something like that in the endowment. So it's and we take a draw of just under 5% each year from the endowment that goes into the operating budget. If the recovery is slow, that draw that we take from the endowment will definitely take a hit, and that will hurt our operating budget going forward. Now, clearly, we're not spending all the money we'd planned to spend right now when we're in this remote operations. We're not traveling, we're not having events. So expenses are down as well, and that's good since this big revenue hit. However, that won't be enough to cover the $7 million in revenue that we had to give back. We're also looking at this Federal CARES Act, which is the federal stimulus package that was passed a week or two ago. Time is so weird in this moment, I can't keep track. It is likely that WPI will qualify for some stimulus funding through that act. Again, we don't exactly know how much. The initial estimates we're getting would not nearly cover the lost revenue that we have, but it's something, and we'll definitely take that. So that's kind of the current financial status. So we're likely to close the year with a little bit of a deficit. But to me, the more uncertain thing is looking forward to next year and just try and start thinking about what the, what the plan is going to be here and what the impact is going to be. So here's what I would say about all this. There's a lot of uncertainty as we look forward, but our job right now is to plan for to be ready for different scenarios. And then where we just know we need to take some action, we take some action. So the biggest uncertainty for next year is about the number of students that will both be returning. So whether we'll see an impact on returning students, both undergrad and graduate, and even more importantly, will we see an impact on the incoming graduate, the incoming classes. I can say I see that Andy's answering some question about enrollment stuff. Here's the good news on the undergraduate side. So far, we're actually seeing good progress against our goals. We have about 475 members of the class of 2024 who have already deposited with us. That's about a third of the class that we're looking for. That's really great news. And that deposit activity is staying really, really strong. And again, that team, I talked about this last time, is working on some virtual visit days and things like this. So we're going to work really hard to bring in those students. But it's almost certainly true that we will see some impact on incoming and returning students. In addition, we think the financial aid needs of those students are going to be different than even for our returning students. If you have a parent who's lost a job, we try and take their financial circumstances and changes in those circumstances into account with the aid packages that we offer. So students have a way to appeal their aid and try and get more need-based aid if their family circumstances have changed. And we want to plan for that. We need to make sure that our students are going to be able to continue to attend WPI. So bottom line is we need to be thinking now about the possibility of significant revenue shortfalls next year while doing everything we can to keep our family together. And so that's kind of, as the actions you're going to see on the next page are really what this is about. So we have committed to everybody at least through June 30th through our fiscal year. And then there's a few additional things that we're going to do. So this is the, I guess, the money slide, literally right here. So this is the actions that I'm announcing today and that we'll follow up with as a written document to you that we're going to take to keep us all together. So first, we're going to look at all our capital projects. They are slowing down anyway as a result of work slowdowns, that we're all experiencing. The one that was new that hadn't yet started, we are going to delay, and that was a new residence hall that's supposed to be at the Salisbury Estates site. We were supposed to be starting construction on that in the coming few months. We're going to delay that project by at least a year. We just need to see where our enrollment's going to land here. Again, hopefully we'll be right back on track with that a year from now. It doesn't make sense to delay it a few months, right? Residence halls, it's either open in August or it's not. So we'll delay it a year. So here are some other things. So we're asking, and I'm asking nicely, but we really need this. We need divisions and departments to forego all non-essential expenditures and avoid significant new financial commitments until we tell you otherwise. I think a lot of you are doing this already, but I just need all of us to really be thinking hard about every dollar that we're spending that's not on a person at WPI, that's not on our employees. Are there things we could be slowing down or scaling back? Are there commitments we could hold off making just until we get a clearer sense of the kind of position that we're going to be in next year? If people have questions about this, if budget owners have questions about this, reach out to Mary Calarisi in the finance office, and we'll make sure we work with you on what makes sense. But I'm asking everyone who manages a budget to really help us tighten our belts at this time. The hiring freeze, we already announced that a few weeks ago. That's going to continue. Again, my hope is that once we get a better and clearer view of the future, we'll be able to lift this. But as of right now, we absolutely just can't do that. We are eliminating the performance review and salary process this year. At one, it's very difficult to do performance reviews remotely. I mean, good ones are great, and I hope every supervisor is giving kudos to their employees that are doing an amazing job in this moment. Those hard conversations would be especially hard to have remotely. And in addition, that last bullet, which says there are not going to be salary increases for next year. So the salary process we would have done this spring would have been for salary increases or promotions that would take effect on July 1. since we're not going to have that salary increase pool this year, we're going to forego the performance review and salary process. I want to make really clear that there is one exception to this. We're not going to do promotions in general, but there are a group of faculty who have already gone through the promotion process, so that's faculty going from assistant to associate professor and associate to full, and same for some of our teaching faculty. If you were promoted this year through that faculty promotion process, you will get promoted and you will get the salary increase that comes with that promotion. Those have already been voted on and announced, and we're going to move forward with those. So please help me get that message out clearly. I know that's a tough one to hear for everybody. At this point, again, my goal is to really keep our family together. And this is a step that I think we have to take in order to make sure that we have the greatest chance of being able to do that for the long haul. In addition, and I'm not going to dwell on this too much, our leadership team is stepping up to contribute to this personally. Not to get into too many details, but we had previously identified some reductions in executive compensation that we were going to take as a group, and those are happening. That's equivalent to about 18% of executive compensation. But in addition to that, everyone who reports to me has accepted a salary cut of 10% for at least 6 months. And I've asked our board to reduce my compensation by 25% in this calendar year. So, you know, we're in this together, and the leadership team is really stepping up. I want to give a special thanks to my direct reports for being willing to step up in this way. So, so that's the sort of core of the financial discussion that I want to have, and we'll be getting to your questions here in a second. I have one other topic that I just want to share really briefly as we close out, which is about managing in these challenging times. Again, I've already said a thanks, but I'm going to say a thanks again to our faculty governance colleagues who have done amazing work on various academic policies that might need changing or continuing their work in the normal course in this really unique moment. We have not had nearly as well organized a process as our faculty have for management of administrative policies. That was something we were working on even before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. I think it's something that's even more critical now that the pandemic is upon us. And so we have launched a new process for making institutional administrative policies that's really intended to unify this process at WPI. I want to be really, really clear. The reason I'm talking about this here is I think that a lot of faculty are really nervous about this, and I want to take the opportunity to really reassure everybody. This is not intended to interfere with the responsibilities of faculty, faculty governance, who are responsible for educational policy making at WPI. Things like the Committee on Academic Policy of Faculty Governance makes educational policies. Committee on Graduate Studies and Research does so for graduate students. That's not going to change. What we're talking about here are administrative policies that apply, typically that apply to all employees, that were made in different pockets around the campus. We're now unifying that through something we're calling the Administrative Policy Group, the APG, which is co-chaired by Wale and Jeff, the provost and the CFO, and has representation from all your divisions and also from faculty governance, from a couple of the chairs of the committees of governance that are most concerned with administrative activities are represented on the APG. This group started its work on Monday. And the way that we're going to do this, I hope will be of interest to people, because the idea here is to make this whole thing a lot more transparent. Any policies that are brought forward to be proposed to this group, they'll consider them, they may do some work on them, and then before they become in effect, they will post them for comment. So we're going to have a place where anybody can go and see those policies and submit comments on them, and we will think through those comments and incorporate them as appropriate. And the first two policies that the group considered on Monday, actually, you're going to get an email about the fact that they're posted and they're open for comment here pretty quick. So I hope you'll stick with us. This is a moment when I'm really asking for the benefit of the doubt on a new process here, and wanting to work for more transparency and inclusion on the making of administrative policies across the institution, trying to do this better than we've ever done it in the past. So, so that's just that, to introduce all of you to that, and to encourage you to get involved and look at the policies as they come I will say there is a provision as we think about this, that if there is an emergency policy that needs to get put in place, for example, one thing we're talking about right now is covering people who need to buy things for their home offices when they're working remotely. There is a provision to to adopt an emergency policy for a limited period of time and not to do the comment period. But even for those, before those policies would become final, we would do a comment period. So again, you might see some things coming out of all this. Just to close, the campus is looking beautiful. I was on the campus yesterday. Tanya took these wonderful pictures of the trees blooming, the magnolia trees around the fountain. And I just want to close with one story. I was walking across the campus yesterday. It was a beautiful day. I went for a walk. It's about 6:15 p.m. And I wanted to see the magnolia trees. And I walked over to the fountain, and there was one of our custodians standing right where the fountain would be squirting up if the fountain was on. His name is Greg. He's the custodian for Stratton Hall. And he was standing there and taking a panorama picture of the beautiful trees in bloom. And I walked up and I said, isn't it beautiful? And he looked at me, he said, oh, hi. He said, are you a student at WPI? I like Greg. Yeah. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm Lori. I'm the president. And he said, well, I'm Greg, and I'm the custodian for Stratton Hall. And I am keeping that place spotless and clean because I am going to be ready when those students are ready to come back. I'm going to be ready for them. I'm going to make sure our building's ready. And that's exactly the kind of commitment that I know all of you have to WPI. And I know these are difficult things that we're working our way through. I want to say that I so appreciate your support, and that we're in this together, and that we'll all take a little bit of pain now to keep our family together is something that I know everybody is not thrilled about, but is willing to do. So I appreciate that. And I'll stop there. And again, say thank you. And we can open it up and start to answer your questions. So I see a lot of people have typed in questions. And we can start to take those now. Kyle, do you want to speak up? I'm going to stop sharing my screen while Kyle unmutes.
Thank you. We have a few questions following up on the announcements today.
Sure.
The first regarding the hiring freeze. Does the renewal of the annual contract of NTTs count as, would that be a new hire that would be frozen?
No, it's really not. That's a great question. So we're working on renewal of NTTs. We very much want to be able to renew all of our NTTs. Wally is working his way through this as we're planning for the fall, and we will be in touch with our plans on that very, very shortly. Again, this is a commitment through June 30th. And the NTT commitments we're making would be for next year. So those we're still working our way through. But again, it's my hope and expectation that, we'll be able to do the vast majority of that, and we'll be able to do it soon. We may not be able to do it quite as early as we usually do, or there might be a delay in a few of those commitments while we make sure we understand what's happening for fall. But I really hope not. And again, that's one that we're not quite ready to talk about yet. I'm sorry for the uncertainty there. I know how challenging that must be.
And related to faculty, COPE recently had an information session implying that faculty can still apply for promotion consideration. Will that process continue? For
next year? Yes, I would expect faculty promotions will continue for next year. Yes.
Thank you. And a question around the non-essential expenditures and cutting back on those. Where can employees turn to get sort of a definition of what is essential?
Great question. It seems to me like this is one where we could stand to send you a follow-up note with some ideas about that. I think, so here's what we haven't done. I don't know about you. It makes great reading. All these different universities have put out letters like the one I'm about to send you about our finances. And in some of them, it says every single expenditure is going to have to be approved by the CFO or the provost. We are not doing that at this point. We really want to trust the organizations to spend their money wisely. We're asking you to ask yourselves, do I really need this now? Is this something that can wait? And if you have a question about that, I would say, first reach out to your division head. Also, Mary Calories can provide help. If you're worried about a contract that you might need to renegotiate, again, reach out to finance. You can reach out to legal as well, to the general counsel's office, if you want some advice on those things. And we'll try and get out some guidance as well.
Thank you. Is there any update on the status of graduate students who may be hoping to work in labs on campus this summer?
Yeah, not yet. So, the state non-essential business closure order goes through May 4th. We'll see what happens around that time. There's a lot of different predictions about when the peak of this is going to be and how we'll come out of it. It is my sincere hope that we will be able to get PhD students and faculty back on the campus at some point sooner than later, although it might be sometime in the summer. I will say that the CERT group that's looking at reopening is looking at that specifically as we phase things. How do we start phasing back up research? So stay tuned. If I knew the answer, I would have told you, and unfortunately we still don't. But I will say I spoke to Rory Flynn today out of Graduate Studies, and he's doing a ton of great, engagement with our PhD students, trying to keep them engaged. I know all of you who are PIs are doing that too with your students, but trying to help students think about what are some things they can do to be productive even while they're not on campus. I know that can only go so far, but again, my hope is that at some point over the summer, we will be able to start having people come back together in a safe and socially distanced sort of way. So stay tuned. As soon as we know more, as soon as we gain confidence in any of that, we will be letting you know.
Thank you. And I think the same may be true for this question around the commitment to keeping all staff employed through June 30th. Is that dependent on the campus's operating status? So if we're reopen?
No. So the commitment is whether or not you can perform your work remotely as a staff or faculty member. If you are on the payroll this summer, you will be paid. Student workers, we're still working on some of the details about that. I think for student workers, they would typically not be working on the campus in the summer, but some might. And so again, that's where we need to get out some additional guidance to you, and we will do that. But no, it's not. So thank you for asking that question. Independent of the campus operating status, our commitment is to pay people who are expecting to be paid until June 30th.
And if the campus...
Sorry, just one other thing. I know most faculty appointments only go through, are 9-month appointments. So what we're saying is, however you're currently employed, we're intending to keep that going, right? We're not changing anybody's terms of employment.
Okay, thank you. And Michelle Jones-Johnson would actually like to take a question about carrying over vacation time to into the next fiscal year.
Sure.
Hi, I'm sorry. I actually was going to type the answer and I hit the wrong button. But in any event, I wanted to let everyone know that we are currently looking at those vacation rollover max amounts. And so that will be part of the Q&A that we send out shortly. So thank you so much.
Great. Yeah, this is there's a lot of details behind all these things, obviously, and we got to work our way through them and make sure we're doing them as equitably as we can, and make sure we're compliant with all the laws and everything. So thanks so much. And by the way, can we just get a little shout out to the talent team? I should have put this in my slides. We all got paid at the end of March remotely. Amazing. That was incredible work. So thank you so much to the team in Talent and Human Resources. Okay, Kyle, what else you have?
We have a couple of questions on both the launch of the Global School and WPI Forward.
Sure. Yeah, so I see that from Aaron about the launch of the Global School. How will it impact the launch? Well, we were supposed to have a launch event in the fall. So here's what I can say. The Dean search team, search committee is still working. They're working. They still have a long list of candidates. So we're nowhere near actually making an offer. I think they should continue to work with those candidates and such. And we'll see that by the time we're not going to hire a dean who hasn't come for a visit to campus, right? So we're going to have to probably do that kind of thing in the fall. So it may be a slight delay, but I don't think it's going to make a significant difference there. At least that's the current thinking. Obviously, everything is TBD as the situation unfolds. And if it turns out that we need to delay, of course we will. But my hope is that we don't. I mean, it's certainly the idea of how interconnected we all are across the globe and how that intersects with science and technology and engineering is really front and center with this whole crisis. To me, it just reinforces the need for something like the global school. So, and thanks to everybody who's working on that search committee. And WPI Forward, yeah, Meyer, hi, thanks for the question. So here's what I would say about it. And I think it's probably similar to what I said last time, which is, so WPI Forward was based on looking at a budget for next year that is no longer going to be the budget that we have for next year. So at some level, the decisions that we need to make are going to happen in a different way because the whole world has changed. On the other hand, the work that the project teams are doing on WPI Forward, the work of benchmarking some of our activities and ways of doing business against our peers and against other local schools, the action of really taking a hard look at our entire organization, those things are really important. And so those teams are continuing to do their research. They're basically in the research phase right now, and they'll report those things out in early May to our steering committee. And that steering committee will give me some feedback on what they've heard and may look at a scenario or two for some time in the future. But you know, next year's budget is not going to be a WPI Forward budget. It's going to be a COVID budget. That's the bottom line. So some of the work is continuing because I think it's work that makes us a stronger organization, but exactly how that work gets applied is undoubtedly going to be different. So thanks for the question. I see Mike Elms asking about the APG and the members. We're going to post all that, Mike. We'll post the where we post the policies to be discussed. We'll post the members of the committee as well. So we'll get you that, and we'll post the process that has been put in place so everybody can see.
Thanks, Lori. And a related question to that, asking what administrative policies are covered by this new committee?
So it's basically meant to be things that are not covered by, that are not educational policy. So most administrative policies are things that would apply to all members of the WPI community. And we're looking at things on a case-by-case basis, and we'll make a determination. Again, the intent is not to undermine any work that faculty governance does on educational policy. I would say, honestly, the work that where we have a slight disagreement right now is about some information technology policies, and we're working our way through that. It's a little bit painful, and I'm sorry to the people who are feeling offended by this, but we need a unified process to bring these policies forward. We want faculty voices in that process, but we need to have a unified process. We can't have different policies for, that are different for different members of our community. So we need to make sure whatever policies we put in place really work for everyone. Alice is asking, what about staff input? So all the divisions are represented by leadership. We can certainly discuss whether there's a different mechanism. And again, staff input is the whole idea of a comment period here, is so every single member of the community has a chance to weigh in, everybody. So if you have a concern about a policy, if you think it's going to have an unintended consequence, that's exactly what we want to hear. We want to know that. So please, watch for these emails and provide input. We'd love to hear from a lot of members of the staff.
Thank you. A question around admissions and what we could do to attract incoming freshmen and stop them from taking a gap year or deferring otherwise. I mean, this is our big concern, right? And again, we're looking at different scenarios for the fall. My sincere hope is that we will be able to be open, even if we have some adaptation around social distancing.
but that we will be able to have the students have a real on-campus experience here, because obviously that's one of the most important parts of a WPI education. It's been so interesting to me. This is one of the things you really realize, the value of in-person education. All of us for many years have been hearing about online is going to take over the world. And now we're all seeing like, okay, we can do it if we have to, but man, that in-person experience is really what makes WPI so special. And of course, learning online is an important part of what students need to learn how to do, but the campus experience is so critical. So yeah, I think it's to share as much as we can with them about our plans and our and you know what it'll be like for them here when they do get here. We're going to do everything we can to try to be able to open in the fall, assuming it's safe to do so. The thing that will get me quite worried is if we couldn't do that. I don't have any evidence right now that that's the case, that we won't be able to be back together by then. But you know, if that's the case, I like you worry that a lot of students will decide to take a gap year. And that's going to be a really tough thing to deal with from a financial perspective for WPI. So what I would say is, what can you do? You can respond when admissions folks ask for your help in some of these virtual tours and virtual admitted students days. Make sure that you're engaging with our current students as much as you can and telling them how much they mean to us so that they all come back as well. By the way, we're working really hard on recruiting graduate students as well. Special shout out to the grad recruitment team. Those numbers are looking okay, but so many of our grad students are foreign that is frankly to me even a larger worry about them being able to get here in the fall. But again, we're working on both making sure that with the highest possible likelihood that we can open if possible, and also knowing that probably of both our undergraduates and graduate students, there'll be some fraction of students who either can't get here or don't feel safe coming here. And what could we offer for those students as well? We got to work our way through all of that. And that's stuff that we're just starting to get our heads around. And so stay tuned, we will be talking about it. But my biggest concern right now is bringing in that class for next year. And for them, my highest hope is that we will be able to be together in the fall.
Thanks, Lori.
Yeah.
A question, which is more challenging, COVID-19 or Mars flight?
Oh boy, thanks Pam, that's a good one. COVID-19 for sure. I will say one of the worst days of my career was I was live on CNN when our Mars mission crashed about 21 and a half years ago. I was the team media spokesperson, and I'd been all trained up about, you know, jump up and down and yay cheer. And then I'd also been trained for what do we do when it crashes? And unfortunately it crashed. And so Mars is hard for sure. However, boy, this is just unprecedented. The reach that this has and the personal impact on so many people we love and care about. I can only imagine for our faculty, especially faculty like you, seeing your students struggle, seeing them struggle with, you know, not being with their friends and not, you know, losing their independence of that being away from family brings, of the real grief and loss that we've been hearing they feel. Dealing with that every day in the classroom is a huge challenge. And I'm so sorry that you all are having to deal with it, but I'm so grateful with about the grace with which you are. So thank you for that. I think COVID is just about the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with.
A follow-up question around transitioning in the fall. So right now we are doing remote learning, but in the fall will we need to prepare to transition to online learning?
I think it's possible. And I think, you know, I think folks should be thinking about it, but again, I'm not ready to, we're certainly not making a decision anytime soon that that's what we're doing. But you know, to me, the interesting thing is we now have hundreds of faculty that have experience doing remote teaching and students doing remote learning that we can learn from. And I think there are real opportunities here to, you know, to learn from this and to think about our offerings for the future, whether or not we're all able to be together. because I think there are real opportunities for WPI in the online space. So yeah, I think we need to do a lot of lessons learned from what we've gone through this D term, and then do our best to turn that into a strategy for the future, not just a tactic of being responsive in the moment, but a real strategy. And so that is something that's on our plates as we move ahead. See a question about summer camps. Pretty soon. When will we make a call about summer camps? Pretty soon. We need to make it pretty soon, but we're just trying to wait a little bit more time to get some sense. And we may make a call for the early part of the summer and not for the other part of the summer. You know, we may do it in phases, but we'll definitely keep you posted on the summer camps as those decisions are made. So again, guys, as we close out here, I will say, look in your email. I'm going to send you a note in the next few minutes that kind of recaps everything we've said here, and we'll share it with everybody, all employees. And thanks to all of you for your engagement, for being willing to go with us in this really difficult time. I couldn't do this without all of your support. So thank you so much. Thank you, and thanks to Kyle for helping us with all these questions. Oh my gosh, are there a bunch more questions coming in? Oh,
Lots of thank yous to you.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Can you talk about any of our great faculty that are being tapped to work on COVID solutions? Lots of folks are working on various pieces of that. I will not claim to have all of the info in my head. If Wally or somebody else wants to chime in, they can. But you know, we know folks like Greg Fisher are working on an open source ventilator. We know that our data science group, Dimitri Korkin, who was the first to really come up with the 3D structure of this virus, are continuing their work around that. And others are thinking about public health aspects of the problem. There's a lot going on there. So, you know, and thank you to the faculty who are having to try and figure out how to do this all remotely. A huge challenge. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here. Wally, did you want to add something?
Actually, I was just going to add, you know, Glenn Godet and Tanya Domingo for the work they've done to get supplies for lots of people.
Yes.
Donna Levin and her team working to 3D print a whole bunch of stuff. Chris Boudreau and folks really sewing the sort of nose covers that have been helping lots of people. And then the sort of coronavirus team of researchers, you know, such as Dimitri Korkin, Rita Rao, and many others that are really bringing a community feel. And I can't go amiss by talking about Balu singing, which has brought a lot of joy to all of us as we've watched him disinfect things and do things as part of a very strong campus-wide response to COVID-19. Really great effort from the faculty.
Absolutely. And our alumni are really stepping up as well. I think I mentioned last time, our own Steve Ruskowski, who's a member of our board of trustees, is the CEO of Quest Diagnostics, who's doing more tests than any other organization in all of Massachusetts. We have a lot to be proud of there. Other alums are stepping up in their local communities. We're hearing a lot about them and the work that they're doing, whether it's through inventing things or being philanthropic and helping their communities, or you know, handing out personal protective equipment. This is a moment that the WPI community has really shined. So thanks to all of you for being a part of that. And with that, I think we will wrap up and let you go. Liz is asking about parents. We have been communicating quite a bit with parents. We did a student town hall yesterday. We could think about doing something for parents as well if folks think that would be useful. Most every note we send to students, we also send to parents. I'm also going to do a video for alumni tomorrow. So spending a lot of time communicating and coordinating with everybody. So doing the best we can to get the word out. And all these messages will be there on our COVID website. So please check back there often. We'll be updating the FAQs with the answers to the various questions, some of which were asked today. And again, stay safe and healthy, everybody. Love to you and to your families, and you know, holding you all close in my video conferenced out heart. So bye, everybody. Take good care.